Welcome back to another episode of the Next Level Minds podcast. My name is Chris Chapman, and I am your host. For those of you who are tuning in to the Next Level Minds podcast for the first time, then this is a podcast dedicated to those who want to reach a next level in their business, personal, or career life. Every other week, I'm blessed to sit down with a fully qualified guest, entrepreneur, content creator, or mover and shaker in their industry, and really walk through their story of how they have gotten from point A to point B and overcame various adversities along the way. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I just wanted to go ahead and reiterate my main goal here, which is really to impact over 1 million people by helping them reach a next level in their business, personal, or career life. So, in order to help that out, I would really appreciate if you could go ahead and subscribe to Next Level Minds on Apple Podcast. Share this episode with a family member, friend, or colleague who you think will get some value out of it. And if you're really feeling special, go ahead and make a review of Next Level Minds on Apple Podcast. Now on to today's episode, which is really part of a series I do called Motivation Monday, really walking through topics that I'm passionate about that I firmly believe will really help you reach a next level throughout your week. And so today's topic is all about the importance of thinking big and why you should not think small. And before we go into this topic here, I just really wanted to reiterate mainly that thinking small does not really get you anywhere. I think when you think small, you're striving for things that ultimately aren't going to get you to your full potential. And I think life and success is all about striving to reach your full potential. And if you're thinking small, you're going to act small. And if you're acting small, you're not reaching your full potential. And again, life is one big game of striving to reach that full potential that you have in life. And just to go over a few examples of people who have really thought bigger and acted bigger in life is from a business perspective. You have individuals like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Andrew Carnegie, who led and really streamlined the steel industry. You have John D. Rockefeller, who really just transformed the oil industry. You have guys like Bill Gates, who of course revolutionized the personal computer, multi-billionaire. These guys thought bigger. They didn't think small and say, Bill Gates didn't say, hey, I just want to, create a small little computer and see where it goes. No, he thought bigger and acted bigger. And then you have examples of some like high level athletes, of course, like Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Kobe Bryant. All these individuals thought bigger in life. All these individuals strived at all times to reach a next level. And so I think those are just some personal examples. You could go on for days of individuals, of successful people who have thought bigger, and just to showcase the importance of it. But I think the number one reason that I see people being held back from really achieving the goals that they want in life is that they're thinking small and that they're not willing to think bigger. And I think most people find some comfort in thinking small when it's a little bit uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong, to think big, to have these massive goals, these massive dreams, I think it can be a little bit uncomfortable. But growth happens when you become uncomfortable. The new level happens when you put yourself in a challenge. And so I think that the goals that scare you are the ones that you should really go after. I think the goals that scare you are the ones that move you from good to great, which is what you should be striving for. Everyone can be good, but not everyone can be great. The big goals, the ones that scare you, move you from that good to great level. And so I think when you're writing down these goals and you're scared of them, have that income goal to say, whoa, I am a little scared of that. That may take a lot, but also know that those big goals are what's going to move you forward. And another huge aspect of the big goals is that the bigger your goals are, I think the better the journey is. So breaking that down a little bit, I think if you have these huge goals, you're going to learn new skill sets. It's going to open up the door for new strengths. It's going to open up the door for new opportunities because you're making yourself uncomfortable. You're growing. You're trying new things. You're innovating. You're networking. You're figuring out new ways to do things because your goals are so large. And I think some prime examples of this type of thinking comes from one of my favorite books by Napoleon Hill, which is Think and Grow Rich, which if you have not read that book, I would highly recommend it. I've read it about 4 times and I go back to it all the time here. So I think one of the things in that book he mentions here is that desire is really the starting point of all achievement. So if desire is really the starting point of all achievement, why should you not desire and think and dream for that bigger aspiration? Again, desire is the starting point of all achievement. So I think for that bigger, better life, having that strong desire and that strong goal, that scares you a little bit. For example, I made a pretty crazy income goal for this year in 2021 that's over on the left side of my bulletin board, and I look at it every day and it scares the hell out of me sometimes. But it's like, all right, I'm striving for that bigger life. If someone my age produced that type of income, why can't I do it? You kind of have to ask yourself, if they did it, I can do it too. So going back to Think and Grow Rich book, not to go off topic a little bit, but another awesome thing in that book is he mentions, and one of my good friends, Zach, talks about this a lot, is whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So with that mentality and that mindset of whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, why would you not have your mind think and imagine about that bigger life that you really do want to live and you really do want to achieve? And I think another big example in that book, like I said, for those that just may have popped on the live, I think another big example in that book is that the greatest achievement at one time was just a dream. You know, those large companies out there like Tesla or SpaceX or the Wright brothers with the airplane, for example, at one time, that was just a dream. These achievements were at one time just a desire, just an idea, just a goal, just a thought. So think bigger. And I think that no one is really ready for success until he believes that he can truly acquire it. So I think when you have these big goals, really thinking about, you know what, I can do this. I can make this happen. I'm the one in control here. I can control my habits. I can control my routine. I can control my attitude. I can control my thought process, and believe that you can acquire and achieve and accomplish these massive goals that you set in place for yourself. And another final point in that book, Think and Grow Rich, again, for those that didn't hear, this is probably one of my favorite books, is that the only limitations are the ones that you set in your mind. The only limitations are the ones that you set in your mind. So why are you going to limit yourself to these short-term goals, to these small little thought processes? You need to strive for that bigger, better life, because the only limitations are the ones that you set in your mind. So now that y'all have just the importance of thinking big and just some motivation behind the desires and achievements, because again, remember, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can also achieve. So now that you guys have that in mind, let's look at some how-to process here, because, you know, this is great. Okay, Chris, thanks. Think big. I got it. Act big. Do this. Have big dreams. Have big goals. Blah, blah, blah. Everyone says that. So now what? Well, let's go to some how-to here. So I think the first thing, and I posted about this on LinkedIn the other day, is that you really need to allocate time to really think about your dreams. You really need to allocate time to spend time to think about where you really want to be in life. For those that are tuning in, watching this on the Instagram Live, I use a journal where I write in it every single day about where I want to be, thinking of new ideas, figuring out, okay, where do I want my life to be in a month? Okay, that's easy. Where do I want my life to be in 12 months? Where do I want my life to be in 5 years? Okay, I'll be 30. That's getting a little older in my opinion. Where do I want my life to be in 10 years? And having that time to visualize where you really want your life to be is so important, because another prime example that a good friend of mine brings up is if you fill up your car with gas and have no final destination, you're eventually going to run out of gas and you're not going to really get to wherever you wanted to go. So allocate that time to really think about where you want to be. I personally like to do that on like a Saturday morning, just because during the weekday I get anywhere from 30 to 100 emails a day, calls, texts, etc. So my mind is not in the right place to think about that. Have some quiet time and think about that. And so after you really think about where you want to be, get these things on paper, write them out. And even if it sounds crazy while you're writing it, like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this makes sense. Write it out anyway. Get those thoughts written down because it's so important. Like I said, I have all my thoughts in a journal that I write down. Some of them seem crazy. Some of these ideas are just, seems like they're impossible sometimes when I look at them, but getting this written down is so important. For example, I want to be the founder and CEO of a Fortune 500 company. So I want to start my own company, go from startup to scaling to Fortune 500 level. And keep in mind that the failure rate of startup companies is 90%. Better yet, the odds of actually becoming from idea to startup to Fortune 500 are very, 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 very slim. But I strive and I have this bigger goal in mind that I want to reach. So keeping that in mind is writing these dreams and big goals out. Now that you have a general idea of really what you want, you have them written down, you have them on paper, is just start surrounding yourself with people who think and act bigger. Surround yourself with people who are 5, 10, 15, 20 steps ahead of you, because you hear this multiple times in all different areas, but you are who you surround yourself with. So if you're surrounding yourself with people who are multiple levels above you, you're eventually going to shape into a mold of what their life is like. So again, but before you do that, you need to really break down of what you want in life, because life is a comparison game. It's a thing that a lot of people struggle with, and the worst thing you want is to try to mold yourself into someone else's life that's not something you truly want. So spend the time before you start surrounding yourself with these people who think and act big and have these successful lives. Spend time actually thinking about what you want. After that, then it's all on you. Take action towards those big dreams. Every single day, small, consistent actions, no matter what. I talk about this a lot on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I talk about this so much, but it's all about moving the needle forward. Consistency is key. Even days like today, like I'm recording this on a Saturday. Honestly, I'm pretty exhausted and I would love to go out and enjoy the Saturday in the afternoon, but I need to focus this morning on what can I do to move the needle forward in my life? What can I do to move the needle forward in my personal brand or with my podcast right now? You know what? I can record an episode on a Saturday, spend 30 minutes doing that. Now what? Move the needle forward no matter what. And some days you're going to move the needle so far forward that you're going to be extremely proud of yourself. You're going to be pumped that you moved the needle that far. But on the flip side, you're going to have days where you don't feel like you move the needle at all. And that goes back to the importance of journaling at the end of the day to say, what did I accomplish? You know, what did I do well? What are some major highlights of the day? Because then when you have those days that you're like, man, I feel like I just took a big L, then you can look back on the journal and say, you know what? I did send these 5 emails and I made these 2 calls and I connected with these 2 people on LinkedIn. You know what? That's a win. I moved the needle forward. Again, move the needle forward. Strive for consistency, even on those days that you don't feel like it. Last thing I want to touch on here is if you feel like you're not accomplishing anything and you feel like you're thinking small, take time to really just think about where you want to be. And also ask yourself, if you're in a rut and you're just not where you want to be, you're not getting there, you feel like nothing's getting done, honestly ask yourself, are you executing at the highest level possible in every single thing you do in your day-to-day life? And when I say every single thing, I mean the way you take the trash out, the way you clean the floor, the way you wash the dishes, the way you type the email, the way you make that phone call, the way you comment on some person's LinkedIn post, the way you spend time talking to your family. Are you executing at the highest level possible in every single thing you do in your day-to-day life? Main question to ask yourself. And if you're not, strive to be the best in every single area. And if you are, keep going and keep striving to move that needle forward. And most importantly, strive, think, and act bigger.